There we go. Ha! I figured it out. I should be up and running for you guys in just a second. Here, it's hilariously funny. I haven't done this in a minute. I actually checked, and it's been 5 minutes. Y'all, y'all. Hey, how are you? It is me again, and I am back. I'm back to share my opinion from my little corner of the world. 2024 was crazy. Cat was right. A lot of stuff came out, and it seems like 2025 is still going. It has decided it's going to take over. If you can hear me, put a one in the chat because I want to make sure that you guys can hear me. I heard myself, but that really doesn't mean anything. So if you're here, you can hear. If you put a one in the chat, I'd appreciate it. Yay, good. So, what has happened? Well, in the 11 days now that has been 2025, I turned a year older. Fani got fined. Fani got fined. Trump got sentenced. And Fox Sports got sued. And Jimmy Carter passed. I am probably not touching on all of them, but those are the things that kind of stick out in my mind. We're going to talk about all of those things from my perspective. But first, we're going to do a little review of 2024. Some things I like to find things. I like to keep up with things. You guys know I watch trials. I like trials, and the main defendants, I guess you would call them, for the YSL trial got disposed of, and everybody was kind of watching that. And then we had the Karen Reed case, and then the Sarah Boone case. We had Alec Baldwin, all those things. But somebody else got a disposition in 2024 that we all may have forgotten about. I did not forget, however, and what I want to do is share with you guys what happened to Meatball. So in case you don't remember who Meatball is, we are going to revisit, and I need to make sure I find the right thing to share with you. We're going to revisit who Meatball was. So Meatball was the TikTok influencer who decided that she was going to live stream looting in Philadelphia. So she did that. And she finally got sentenced. I believe this is 2023 when the looting happened. So she finally got sentenced in 2025. And as you can see here, she was sentenced. Let me actually take myself out and make this bigger. I'll make myself smaller. Make this bigger. She got sentenced to probation. Here's Meatball. Her name is actually Deja Blackwell. So Miss Blackwell video showed people targeting the city center business. And I don't know if you guys remember, but she was like, everybody's going to eat. Everybody's going to eat. And she actually said the police need to either lock me up or it's about to get lit. She was one of 50 people who were taken into custody, as you can see here, and she got sentenced to probation. And I thought that they had the thing, but let me play. Sorry about the ad. I can't help that one. And see if it's
every single day. We prep everything in our store.
We'll skip it, but it's here. Thought I had it queued up because I was trying to do all the stuff. Shar, I hear you.
Onions.
Honestly, I think with Alec Baldwin, we can blame this on the prosecutor. The prosecutor shouldn't have done what they did. They should have just put it all up front, and they should have
Penos.
Do I think that he would have gotten convicted? There's definitely the potential that he would have. I was leaning toward that. Just his attitude after the shooting, all of that stuff. I was totally leaning toward, he should go to jail. But they didn't do what they did. She didn't do what she needed to do. And of course, my internet's going to start running slowly. But Meatball got sentenced to 5 years probation. So we're going to cure that one. That's our 2024. But I'm one of those people, I don't like to leave things kind of just hanging out there. That's why I brought you guys the update on Carly Russell when she got sentenced, because I don't think that I personally don't like leaving things unfinished for people that we've talked about before. And I don't know that I
Cilantro.
Wow.
that was a big thing. I know April talked about her, so didn't want to leave that unfinished, and I thought it was really interesting because I wanted to know what happened to her. So I'm gonna stop sharing really quickly, and then we will get into one of my other favorites because we can't really leave 2024 behind just yet. We're all still doing reviews, and one of the people that I did talk about in 2024 was Tia Mowry, because I actually found out that has been pronouncing her last name wrong the entire time she's been in television. It's Maury. And also found out that I've been pronouncing her sister's name wrong. It's Tamira, not Tamira. But we're not here to talk about Tamira. We're here to talk about Tia, because as we all know, Tia got divorced. She left her marriage. She called it a graduation. I don't know if you guys know, I watch Ratchet TV, so of course I knew, and of course I watched the show, that Tia did a reality show talking about calling it her next chapter. And y'all, it was pretty much everything you would expect. Tia was being ratchet. I mean, it's ratchet reality TV show. She threw her husband under the bus every chance she could get. Of course, she didn't have any real friends. She had these friends who were encouraging her to basically be ratchet and to live her best life. Tia admitted that prior to Corey, she hadn't really dated because she was not allowed to date until she was 18 years old. And then she met Corey at 20, and then at 25, she married him. So he was her first boyfriend, her first everything. And that was I'm thinking to myself, and she's telling this like it was some sort of trauma that he was her first ever. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, do you know how many people would give anything to have their husband be their one and only, their first of everything? Shar, you're right. She was selfish and she destroyed her family for no good reason. Now, Tia would say, I think her grandmother died, if I'm not mistaken. Because this has been a story that's kind of been ongoing. But if I'm not mistaken, her story is that her grandmother died, and it really just and I know her aunt had passed too, but there were things that were happening in her family, and she decided that she was going to go to therapy. And in therapy, she realized that she had not been loving herself, and she had been putting herself last. And I'm sure you guys have seen all of those videos with her talking about how it's graduation and her marriage is no longer serving her. Well, as always, I really do believe this, and I know, Shar, I'm looking at talking to you. You're married, I'm single, we're friends. Hey, Chess Champ, how are you doing? It has been a long time. I didn't realize it had been 5 months since I'd done a Q's Corner, a coffee with Q, and Q's Corner, probably about the same time, because I have been really busy. I was really busy with work last year. They pushed us really, really hard for numbers. And yeah, I planned to do one for Christmas, but my family was sick. So there was that. So we kind of got over that. And I decided, hey, you know what? It is January, might as well do one for the new year. And bonus, it's the day after my birthday, so I'm another year older. I even decided not to do the touch-up filter on the camera this time. I was like, I want to let you guys see all of the wrinkles, all of the gray. So if you don't like it, it's okay. And I am okay with you not liking my wrinkles and my gray, but this is me. Anyway, Tia, she went to therapy, and in therapy discovered that basically she should leave her marriage. I'm not saying I know for sure, but more than likely her therapist was a girl. It was probably a lady. And I think that Tia, and probably a lot of other people that we don't know about, but Tia is a reason to never go to therapy. Therapy doesn't really help anything. Therapists are called advocates for you. So they listen to you and they tell you what you want to hear. I've said all that. We're going to just look at what Tia had to say about being a co-parent during the holidays. She's she can't stop talking, and that is her downfall. Like she initially when she thank you, Chess Champ. I appreciate that. Um she could not stop talking, and that's her downfall. Like her husband really hasn't said ex-husband, I guess now, really hasn't said anything. And when he did, he was like he's always going to protect her, even though she threw him away like yesterday's garbage. He said his job is to always protect her because when she's winning, he's winning, they're all winning, and they can all do well. I'm just asking what was the issue. And I will talk about that a little bit about what she set someone else up to say was the issue in their marriage after this. So Tia calls co-parenting during the holidays a lonely journey. And let me know if you guys can see this. A lonely journey. I mean, it can feel challenging and even a lonely journey. And so here she is with her and her kids. And interestingly enough, she actually did because Corey did do some celebrating with them over Christmas, and she was very quick to post a picture of them together. And it was so funny, y'all, because and if I can find it while I'm doing this, because I didn't bring that one up, he looked like he was backing away from her, and she looked like she was kind of trying to lean into him. So true, Shar. You are right. Therapists want a customer, and they will do anything to keep you as a customer. It doesn't work. I mean, I have never seen anything. And I'll tell you this: I went to therapy. I did Christian therapy after a really huge event happened in my life, and it was good to talk to someone to just kind of let it out. And it was someone who didn't know me, didn't know the people, didn't have. I felt a a dog in the fight. And interestingly enough, my therapist was like, I've never had somebody be so open and honest about everything in their life. And I told her I wasn't there for court orders, so there was no need for me to hide. So it was good to get something off my chest. Um, Looking back on it, I would do it differently. I probably would just go do biblical counseling and probably with a pastor at this point. But I've learned how to deal with it. But this is not about me. This is about Tia. Tia is opening up about how difficult the holidays can sometimes feel. On Monday, December 23rd, the actress 46 shared a series of photos on her Instagram as she posed by her Christmas tree with her 6-year-old daughter Cairo and her 13-year-old son Cree, whom she shares with her ex, Corey Hardrick, 45. The family wore matching red plaid pajamas and smiled together in the photo. She also included solo shots of her kids, and she addressed co-parenting during the holidays. And I know I'm skipping it, y'all, but trying to get to the good part. Admitting that it can be a journey. Happy holidays from my family to yours. Co-parenting during the holidays is a journey that's filled with mixed emotions, she said. So let's go down her Instagram photo and read it all. It's different, and yes, it can feel challenging and even lonely at times, especially when you're adjusting to a new family dynamic. But over over time, I found the beauty in it. It's an opportunity for my kids to build meaningful relationships with both parents, and for me, it creates space for self-discovery, healing, and rejuvenation. I'll admit, as a single mom, I sometimes feel the weight because our family doesn't look like others. But you know what? That's okay. Different doesn't mean less than. The most important thing is keeping the traditions alive for my children because no matter how it looks, we are still family. Heart. To anyone navigating co-parenting or a new chapter this holiday season, know that you're not alone. There's joy to be found, even in the transition. Let's keep creating those special moments for our kids, no matter what. Heart. Okay, y'all. Let's just be honest. This wasn't a transition that had to happen. This wasn't something, even on her show, she cried about the fact that the reality of dropping her kids off at their father's house now. For her, she was like, I always dreamed of a home with two parents in it, and that's not what it is. Ma'am, that is because you broke up your home. You busted your house open. The husband wasn't trying to leave you. When you announced the divorce, he had a video. It was like, I love my wife. I love my family. To this day, he's not said a bad word about you, and kudos to him. I'm a girl. You know how we are, and Tia is proving how we are. We can't keep our mouths shut. And after everything that she has alluded to, said, I would have dragged her myself, but he is doing the right thing. So I'm not saying I'd be right, but I'm just saying I would have dragged her myself. And I guess in one sense, she is getting dragged by other people. But again, he's maintaining the integrity. And he actually cares about his kids. The things that she put in her reality show, I'm like, your kids are eventually going to see this one day. For instance, she had her TV mom, Jackie Harry, come on to the show and basically say Corey had issues in the marriage because he wasn't working. Y'all, it is a lie that man wasn't working. He's an actor. Actors and actresses have lulls, they have highs, they do things for a while and they're really active and then they're not doing something. But this man has worked in Hollywood steadily for over 25 years. 25 years. He has actually had more prominent work. Like he may have been a background or a supporting cast. And so he mean that he wasn't the star in these films, but this man has been in films with Clint Eastwood. He's been in films with Ben Affleck, all of these people. Tia can't say that. And I understand she is sister famous, and I love the show, watched the show, did all of those things. But he has actually, his body of work and the people who he was billed with, who his IMDb credits with, they far surpass hers. And he worked for nearly 20 years. Yes, and he is doing good. And now, chess champ, he is making bank at this point. And I think that at this point, I say he shouldn't take her back. I don't know that he wants to take her back, but I think that's part of the reason she keeps doing these little things, because when she first left him, he didn't have what he has now. And again, he's worked steadily. So that's not to disparage him in any way. He was working, he was taking care of his family. And from what I heard, because she wanted to be such a boss babe, he felt that somebody needed to be there with the kids more often. So he in one sense, faded back because she was so, strong about things. And again, these are rumors of hers, so this is all alleged. Nobody's actually confirmed it, meaning the two of them from their mouths. But he wanted to make sure he was there for his kids and there for his family. But this man was never not working. He wasn't some deadbeat who was laying on the couch while she was going out there to make the money, and she had to be like, you need to do something. You need to do something. He was steadily working all that time. And now, say what we want to about Tyler Perry, his quality of movies, whatever. Apparently, everybody seems to agree that he will pay you. And Corey has said that Tyler is paying him. And I think that now she doesn't have the girl, I can see why you left him. So now she's having to do these little things, like saying she's a single mom. She's not a single mom. She's a divorced mom. And she is only living in her home with her kids by her own choice. I do not feel sorry for her. And no matter how many times she put this out, I will, again, I'm the Rex TV watcher. I will watch it all day long. And in one sense, I guess it's hate watching, because I can't stand it. And you do really hope sometimes that you have thought the worst of somebody, but they make it better. She didn't make it better. And the friends she had around her, they were the friends you would expect. They were like, "Ooh, girl, you really haven't done this." And ooh, and they encouraged her to just let her hair down. And they treated her to a bachelorette party in Las Vegas where she did things that she should be and probably eventually will be ashamed of her children being able to see. I mean, her son has called her out on her TikTok stuff, like, why are you wearing those clothes? He's 13. He's embarrassed. I mean, we know kids go through that embarrassing stage with their parents, but he's like, nah, you shouldn't be wearing that. She was a mother and a wife. She gave it up for the streets. That's not really working for her. So she needs to rebrand, because now we're not talking about her graduating. Now it's a journey. Now it's hard. Now it's a challenge. So she's trying to be more relatable, because she knew graduating wasn't relating and she couldn't do it. And feminism has been really, really bad for women. Shara Joel, we are all, and I'd say it's been bad for men too, because we're all kind of bathed and steeped in feminism. We don't know it will say things just out of habit. And it's like, wait a minute, that really isn't good for me. But she, honestly, for as much as she's doing now, should he, if and when he decides that he will choose another mate, I'm just telling you, I'm gonna get the popcorn ready for the crash out, because there's going to be a crash out, because it's what we do as women. So we've now done Tia Mowry. Let's see here. What else do we have going on? Is it time for 2025 yet? I think so. Let's do Fani got fined. And I say Fani, and I know it's Fani, and I really am. She was named after her aunt, and her aunt's name was Fani. Her father decided to call her Fani. It's Swahili. It means like people or something like that. And then her middle name means like nation. So it's like it's interesting, her whole little naming concept. But Fani was told, you need to pay Judicial Watch for not giving them what you should have given them. And I am now trying to find my PDF, y'all, for not giving them what you should have given them in the Freedom of Information Act. Now, this is fun for me because, again, with the YSL trial and all that stuff, I've kind of been watching, and then, you know, her performance in last February. So it's almost coming up on a year now, y'all, since she burst into court with her dress allegedly on backwards, talking about she was going to testify and not having any foundational garments on, which, besides her just being absolutely unhinged and rude and disrespectful during her testimony, her not actually being put together in foundational garments was really, really distracting. That's me. It's how I am. I apologize for nothing, unless I actually did do something wrong, in which case I take responsibility and apologize. But Judge McBurney, who actually I found out was the person who was overseeing, and I found this out because I actually finished the book, which I still do have to do the book review for you guys for. I have to find, let's see, my window. I'm trying to find where it is. I haven't done this in so long. There we are. Haven't done this in so long. Judge McBurney, who actually did the what was it? The initial stuff for Trump with the with her doing the indictments and things like that, and trying to move that along. He's the judge who is assigned to this particular case too. So, as we all know, everybody's been trying to get records from Fani and the district attorney's office. Fani, Ashley Merchant's been trying to get records. With Jim Jordan and them want records. And Judicial Watch wanted records because of the open records request. That's also the way Ashley Merchant and her firm are requesting it too. Fani told everybody, that's cute. I don't have to give you anything. Well, that's after she said, we don't have them. And by her, I mean her office. And by her office, I mean her records keeper. And by her records keeper, I mean Dexter Cubond, who we all saw. Well, I don't know if we all saw who, but who everyone was able to see testify during the Ashley Merchant hearing before Judge Krause. And we all saw Dexter Cuban give his best Fani impression with the "that was cute, let me be clear," and be really, really sassy on the stand. Now, you heard me say, his name is Dexter Cuban, but I and the Q Coalition have decided, and mainly when I say the Q Coalition, I mean me, has decided that he is no longer allowed to use the letter Q because he embarrasses us. So I have labeled him Dexter K Bond. So if you hear me say Dexter K Bond, that's why. His middle initial is actually Q. We're going to go over some of the items in the judicial watchdom. So this is the Superior Court of Fulton County. It's Judge McBurney. Now, as you can see, the date that this was entered was 1/3/2025. I believe that he'd actually done this in very, very late December, but it was finally, made public. So it's Judicial Watch Inc. versus Fani Willis in her official capacity as the district attorney of the Atlanta Judicial Circuit. That's who the defendant is. So orders granting attorney's fees and costs. Plaintiff submitted an Open Records Act request, ORA, to the defendant on August 22nd, 2023, by way of Fulton County's ORA online portal. And that's been a whole little thing too, with how do you ask for open records, who's responsible. That same day, the plaintiff received confirmation that its request had been delivered and would be channeled to the appropriate department, presumably the district attorney's office. The following day, the county's open records custodian, Dexter K. Bond, sent plaintiff an email confirming that the district attorney's office had received the inquiry and asking plaintiff to simplify the ORA request. Literally 5 minutes later, before any simplification had occurred, plaintiff received a second email from the records custodian. After carefully reviewing your request, we do not have responsive records. This response was perplexing and eventually suspicious to plaintiff, given that the plaintiff subsequently uncovered through own effort at least one document that should have been in the district attorney's office's possession that was patently responsive to the request. This discovery prompted the current litigation filed in March 2024, seeking an order directing defendant to comply with the ORA and provide all responsive records. During the pendency of litigation, defendant thrice more denied the existence of any responsive records, once in a request for admission and twice via answers to interrogatories. Every time we have searched and there is nothing. That is their favorite response. I just thinking about the parallels between this and the Ashley Merchant. Yep, the cue card was taken, Shara. This in the Ashley Merchant case. That is the same thing that they said to Ashley Merchant time and time again. And again, once I'm done with this and I go through and I maybe chop some of it up and do all those things, I will link Dexter's testimony in the description. None of that's there now, y'all. I'm barely making it to do this online and trying to figure out how to do it. So the defendant ultimately defaulted, and this court entered an order on December 2nd directing defendant to conduct a diligent search of the records for responsive materials and to provide responsive records that were not legally exempted from the disclosure. If the defendant elected to withhold all or part of any responsive records, she was further directed to comply with the Georgia statute 50-1871 by identifying the basis for withholding. That means that if they found records and they are saying we cannot turn them over or will not turn them over, they have to explain why they can't turn them over. One of the things that Fani is very, very fond of using is saying it's privileged because there's a case going on, which technically, at this point, her case is paused because she's been removed from the Donald Trump, because that's mainly what these records are being requested for. She's been removed from Donald Trump's the indictment that she brought against him. She's been removed from that case because the Georgia appeals court said, yeah, there was an odor of mendacity that can't be cured by Nathan Wade just being taken off. So she's been removed from it. But up until that point, and she's also appealing that. I may get into that later this week if I have the time. Seems work is not going to be as as crazy, at least at the beginning of the year this year. So I may have time to do some more. So we may get into that a little bit more sometime later this week or in a couple of weeks because I know I'll have some time. But that's been her main thing, saying that she couldn't give them because it's an ongoing case. There's an upcoming trial, and all of this stuff is privileged, and it would kind of give away all the things that she had. And apparently in Georgia, you don't have to turn over discovery to the defendants until about 10 days before, so you can do a whole dump. And she wasn't trying to turn anything over before she had to. And honestly, at that point, after watching the YSL trial, they still don't. They would get to trial and just bring something else new. Brady was a huge thing in YSL. Also, may do a little breakdown on that because that was a wild ride. The defendant's compliance with the court's December 2nd order consisted of an undated, unsigned 2-page memo to the plaintiff from defendant's open records department. Again, there's Dexter. Attached to plaintiff, it was attached December 17th of 2024. When they filed this, they attached the memo. In this memo, defendant announced that there were still no records responsive to one of the plaintiff's requests, communications with former special counsel Jack Smith, which we all know is a lie. They do have them. She doesn't want to give them up. And I'll say allegedly, because Fani's fond of Rico. But that there were, in fact, records responsive to plaintiff's second set of requests, communications with the United States House January 6th Judiciary Committee. Oh, we're not going to talk about that right now. But those were exempt from disclosure. See, again, she's saying even December 17th, I'm not giving you that because that's part of my case. The defendant, despite these reservations, did gamely attach to her memo a copy of a letter she wrote to the chairman of the House Committee that does not appear to be covered by any of the exemptions identified in the memo and had already been identified as a responsive record that was wrongly withheld. So she's like, I'll show you my toe, but nothing else. She's being coy and giving something to say, hey, see, I did something. They're not. Somehow something had changed, despite having previously informed the plaintiff on 4 separate occasions, y'all. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 times that her team had carefully searched but found no responsive records. Now there suddenly were, but they were not subject to disclosure under order. And basically, there was a no go away. I wanted to get down. Let's see. This is 3 or 5. We can read the 5 pages. This wasn't long. Plaintiff's deposition of defendant's records custodian. Oh, I would love to see or read the deposition for that because Dexter is a hoot when he is testifying. Shed some light on the mystery. He admitted that there was no search for records back in August 2023. There are never searches. Just no go away. He further clarified that when plaintiff did not go away, but instead sued, there still was no organized, comprehensive examination of the district attorney's office's records that would await the court's December 2nd, 2024 order. Now, here's an interesting thing. He just told them no go away. And I'd like to see his deposition, read his deposition, because when he testified with Ashley Merchant, he did everything he could to smear her. He was like, yeah, you were a nuisance. I knew who it was. Basically, I don't like you and I'm not giving you anything. He was very unprofessional on the stand, and it was not, you could tell he had been taught by Fani, discipled by Fani. I'm really not trying to mispronounce her name, y'all. Just so used to hearing people say Fani. And he just was like, no, we didn't look for it. So aura is not hortatory, it is mandatory. I don't know if y'all know. Does anybody who's watching, anybody who's listening, anybody who may be listening after this, you guys can put comment in the chat. I mean, in the comment section about this. Do you know what hortatory means? I didn't. I had to look it up today. So I'm gonna wait just a couple of seconds. If you know what hortatory means without looking it up, drop it in the chat. It's like I'll do the Jeopardy thing. I did not either, Shar. So again, you are not alone. I had to look it up. Hortatory means exhortating or intending to kind of say, exhort you, come on, please do this. So what the judge is saying is when they filed this wasn't an ask of like, come on, do it if you feel like it. I'm pushing you, we're exhorting you. We're aiming towards you actually going and doing this lovely thing we've asked you to do. He's like, no. When you get an open records request, it is mandatory that you search for the records, that you respond to the records. And if you don't have me, and if you don't have them, you don't have them, but you actually have to do something. It basically, I didn't ask. It wasn't a suggestion. It was not a suggestion. It means you do it. So it's mandatory. Non-compliance has consequences. One of them can be liability for the requesting party's attorney's fees and cost of litigation to recover its relevant and reasonable fees and costs under ORA. Plaintiff must do two things. First, it must show that the defendant violated the ORA. Second, plaintiff must also demonstrate the defendant lacked substantial justification for the violation. So this is talking about, again, I think this was the Georgia statute that we looked at, that we were talking about before, where she could withhold things, and there was if there's an actual justification, legal reason to withhold it. And this is a court case from Georgia in 2028. It's like, here, plaintiff has done both. So if the plaintiff can show that there was really no substantial justification for legally withholding it, and based on this case that they had in Marietta, Georgia, then they get their attorney's fees paid for and any cost for them actually submitting the open records request. Because we think about FOIA and we think, oh, we'll just ask for records. It costs to actually ask for records and to get records. So they shelled out some money. So most basically, by operation of law, defendant acknowledged violating ORA when she defaulted. So what happened, and the default was that they had been told they had to turn over records by a certain amount of time, or give the reasons why they could not turn over records, but they had to make a good faith effort to find them and turn them over. And if they couldn't do that, they had to respond. And we know Fani's good at responding, because when the Georgia Appeals Court threw her off the case, she had a letter ready to go. When Nathan Wade was told he had to resign or Fani had to go, they had their Dear John letters ready. When Jim Jordan said, Fani, you need to come, she had her "that was cute" letter ready for him in a heartbeat. So we know that Fani can respond. So they chose not to respond because basically they were saying, we don't have to. Fani's like, I am the law, even though she says nobody's above it. That's the way she behaved. So it was a defaulted judgment, because this is civil court. So a defaulted judgment. So she acknowledged violating the Open Records Act when she defaulted. But actual evidence proves the same. So they're saying not only did she prove that she violated the act when she defaulted, they have evidence to prove the same things. It's per her records custodian's own admission that the district attorney's office flatly ignored the plaintiff's original oral request, conducting no search, and simply and falsely informing the county open records custodian. And so the DA has her records custodian, who is Dexter K. Bond. And then there's a county records custodian, because the portal, what happens is they have to go into the Fulton County portal, and then they direct it to the district attorney's office. So Dexter was filing his fingernails, practicing his "that was cute," and then he told the county's open records custodian, because they handle the portal, oh, we don't have anything. So that's what they mean when they say he falsely informed the county's open records custodian. They're two different people. Dexter's in Fani's office. The county open records custodian works for the county and handles the whole portal thing where the requests come from. Then no responsive records existed. We know now that this simply is incorrect. Once pressed by a court order, defendant managed to identify responsive records, but categorize them as exempt. even if the records prove to be just that, exempt from disclosure for sound public policy reasons. This late revelation is a patent violation of the order, and for none of this is there any justification, substantial or otherwise. No one searched until prodded by civil litigation. Given this, the court finds that the relevant and reasonable attorney's fees and costs of litigation are properly awarded to the plaintiff. The evidence from the court's December 2024 hearing on the attorney's fees show the plaintiff's counsel billing rate is reasonable and that the items for which he billed are, for the most part, relevant to the defendant's oral violation. From that record made on the 20th of December, the court finds the plaintiff has incurred $19,360 in attorney's fees related to the plaintiff's effort to enforce compliance with ORA. Related litigation expenses are $2,218. Defendant is thus liable to the plaintiff for $21,578 pursuant to that Georgia law for the open records. That small amount shall be paid within 2 weeks of this order entry. So Fani has until January 17th to pay Judicial Watch. Who thinks she's going to pay? Does anybody think Fani's actually going to pay this? And my question has been, as people are talking about this, will Fani pay it, or is she going to take it out of Dexter's paycheck, since he is the open records guy? So y'all, we have kind of done a wrap up of 2022. We are now getting into 2025, where Fani got fined. She's catching L's. More L's than she was in 20, and she's going to catch a couple more, because I really do think that the Supreme Court's going to uphold her being, the Georgia Supreme Court, that is going to uphold her being taken off Trump's case, and then that case is going to fall by the wayside, and she will have paid her boyfriend upwards of $1 million, been made to look like a fool in court several times. The case will have fallen apart, and she will have given an interview for a whole book that is now hilariously funny. Not that it wasn't funny as this was going on, but it's even more funny now that basically the case against her, at least prosecuting the case against Trump, because while we don't think anybody else will take it up, we really don't know that, but the case against Trump and his other alleged co-conspirators is basically dead in the water. And here's something, and I've just done it on this live, and everybody else does it because Trump is kind of like the bright light in the case, in the sense meaning he's the star. But the reason that we have this case, and her getting kicked off the case, the reason we saw Nathan Wade testify, the reason we saw Fani burst into the courtroom as her counsel was arguing that she should not be made to testify, it's not because of Donald Trump. It is because of Ashley Merchant and Michael Roman. So it really is more apt to call it especially the part about her getting disqualified and all these things coming to light with Nathan Wade. That's really Michael Roman and Ashley Merchant. So kudos to y'all. And it's great that they brought sound a light on Fani in this. And I think that actually probably put some more eyes on the YSL trial. Not that people weren't interested in it because of Young Thug, but I think it really just started making people scrutinize Fulton County a heck of a lot more than they probably would have. So now Fani got fined, Trump got sentenced. So it is official, y'all, that in, what are we on, January? So what is that? 9 days? 9 days. As I had to think about what the date was. Again, so sad. 9 days, the United States will swear in its first president, who is, at least for now, on paper, a convicted felon. And I'm smiling about that, and I'm laughing about that because it is incredibly funny, because we all know this was a shamockery. It never should have happened. The one case that he got convicted on, which again is a shamockery and never should have been brought, was a hush money case about him paying one of his conquests, we'll say, or alleged conquests. Because I honestly, at this point, I honestly don't know. um, because I'm so confused with the testimony that's been given, interviews that's been given before. But we'll call her conquest. One of his conquests, money, not to basically tell his wife because it wasn't even about the election. Because let's just be honest, y'all. Um, if people were willing to vote for Trump when he had all these cases against him, election interference, et cetera, hush money, and they still voted for him. He wasn't scared. And also, I mean, this is also the man he's been for. This is his third wife. His first and second wife, he took on a trip together when he was still married to the first one, and he was okay with that. So this isn't a man who's truly paying off people, paying off women because he doesn't want the public to find out about himself. I mean, he just does not strike me as that person. Allegedly, it was because he didn't want his wife to find out. It is what it is. He's older now. In his younger years, he took both of his wife and his mistress on a vacation in his younger years. I mean, his older years, excuse me. He's not wanting to have his wife find out about stuff. Maybe third time's a charm. I don't know. Not really my business. Good morning, Richard. How are you, sir? But at any rate, he has now gotten sentenced and is officially, and that's something I did not know. And I will say that my sister made me aware of that. I am working with two different screens, y'all, and two different things. Because I have things kind of separated. So I am trying to find where my other stuff was. So that until you're sentenced, even if you're found guilty, you're not actually convicted. So while during the election, they were saying that Trump was a convicted felon. Technically, he wasn't. And yesterday, Judge Merchan sentencing him to nothing and having him pay no fine is what actually made him a convicted felon. So let's see what, and I was not running it. Let's see what MSNBC has to say. Not the right thing. I really am trying to figure out how I do this again. Where are we? Let's do, where's my window? There we are. And we're going to share. Let's see what they have to say about it. Let me know if you can hear. Oh, okay. Let me pause it. So weird. See? All right. Can you hear now? I can hear it, but that doesn't mean anything. Okay. Okay. So I have to figure out what I did wrong. Okay. Let me do something really, really quickly, which is go myself. But you guys can hear me, correct? So one in the chat if you can hear me. Oh, I am showing myself too. We don't want to see me. That's weird. Okay, very cool. You can hear me. Okay, so I will figure it out later. We're gonna go through the Donald Trump thing, and I'm just gonna read this. So Trump got sentenced. It's an unconditional discharge. So he is formally convicted of all 34 felony counts, but faces no penalty. Judge Merchan wished Trump Godspeed after sentencing him, and then Trump hung up. Now, I don't know if you guys actually listened to some of the call that was played in court of the court sentencing hearing, but Trump was like, I am innocent of all of the charges. This never should have been brought. It was really interesting because he was, and I think that that probably definitely made the crazy TDS people really really mad because not only is he not getting punished, but also he basically maintained his innocence. And with a lot of people, they're like, okay, if we're gonna get a light sentence or no sentence or probation or whatever it is, the people will at least admit they're guilty. Trump did none of it, and I know that had to tick them off even more. And I will say this: when I saw that the Supreme Court, and I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to come back. When I saw that the Supreme Court had allowed the sentencing to go on, and I saw 5-3, my immediate thought was, I know John. Was it 5-4? Excuse me. I was like John Roberts, and it was John Roberts. It was John Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett, and then the other judges, the judges you also think would be in that number 5. The other 3, they were there, and then the other 4 were like, we probably shouldn't let this go on. However, here's the upside with the fact that it could go on. And when I read what the Supreme Court said, I was like, okay, I can do that. The upside of him actually officially becoming a convicted felon is that now he can appeal his conviction. And even legal analysts on CNN are like, it's probably going to get overturned. So not only is the case not in limbo, so they won't be able to come back and say, yeah, we want to go ahead and get it entered, and potentially, because we know that they could potentially do that, do jail time or anything like that. But should he win his appeal, with first going through the New York and potentially up to the Supreme Court, and he wins that appeal, it goes away, and it's as if it never happened. So all of his rights would get restored, etc. So while Trump got sentenced, it's not necessarily a bad thing and could make it easier, and he won't have this hanging over his head at all, and then all of it just goes away. Sorry, I don't know why you guys couldn't hear it. I heard it perfectly well. So I'm not doing something, but you're funny. Calling me surprised. Well, Amy Coney Barrett was Trump. So, but John Roberts has proven not to be reliably conservative in his time on the court. And so whenever I see that a conservative side has sided with the more liberal justices, or alleged, because technically the Supreme Court is supposed to be unbiased, they're supposed to be reading the Constitution, and as it is, not as a living document, as it was written, and applying it the way it's supposed to. That hasn't happened for decades, probably 100 years here in America, and I'm hoping that we can get back to that, but that's also for another time. Fani got sentenced. So Fani got fined. Trump got sentenced. Jimmy Carter passed away. So 39 is no longer with us anymore. He has passed into eternity. And from the Twitterverse, I found out that apparently, because I didn't watch the whole funeral because I had to work, and I was listening to things in between my meetings. So apparently, in one of the parts that I did not listen to, they sung "Imagine" by John Lennon at this supposed Christian's funeral. And we all know Imagine starts with, imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. Well, why would we sing that at supposed Christian's funeral? That wasn't the thing that I'm talking about today, though. I am talking about Andrew Young and his eulogy for President Trump. Not President Trump, excuse me, President Carter. And I'm always interested because I knew Andrew Young growing up. I knew he had been the mayor of Atlanta, but also was the ambassador to the UN, and had heard about the whole little civil rights thing. And apparently just learned this today that I knew he was an ordained minister, but apparently he had a pastorate here in Alabama at some point in time. But him being part of the old guard, did not realize he was 92 years old till the day of the funeral, and looking up, seeing him speak. But being a part of the old guard always has to bring up racism, etc., etc. So I'm going to try to play Andrew's eulogy at President Carter's funeral. Let me know if you can hear this, and if you can, that'll be great. Let's see. We're gonna have to do the other one again so I can find it. Share, and then I'm gonna start playing it. Let me know if you can hear it. If not, we'll work something out. Oh, okay. I have no idea what is going on and why you guys cannot hear it now. Oh, goodness. Let's see. And it's so sad. I have not done this in forever. So, playback speed, stable volume, quality, sleep timer, turned all the way up. I have to figure out, let me stop sharing, figure out why you guys cannot hear him. Let's go. Give me one. So he eulogized him. He's talking about, as always, there's racism and how, the South was racist and we didn't do anything right, and there was no we didn't do anything right. We kept people down. All the black people were just impoverished, and I'm exaggerating here, but all the black people were impoverished, and the white man was on their necks. Blah 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 blah. So Andrew was born in. I found out. So I did some digging. Andrew was born in New Orleans. Here's the interesting thing, y'all. Andrew Young was born to a mother who was a school teacher and a father who was a dentist. Now, mind you, Andrew Young was born in 1932. So here I'm going to share what I have of his biography, and I'm trying to remember which. This is the downside of using two different ones to pull all my stuff up because I lose where I am. Okay, so now I'm just gonna share in this Wikipedia, and I looked at some other stuff, and they kind of say the same thing. Where's Andrew? Oh, he's not on this one. Here we are. So we're gonna look at Wikipedia. I'm gonna figure out the sound thing, or gonna have to, which makes me sad. Okay, so his early life. So he was born in 1932, New Orleans, to Daisy Young, a school teacher, and Andrew Jackson Young, a dentist. So mind you, this is 1932, and his mother was a school teacher, and his father was a dentist. And so his father hired a professional boxer to teach Andrew and his brothers how to defend themselves. Now, interestingly enough, it says in here that Andrew and his when he gave an interview about for this, I don't know if it was a book that was written or whether it was like a series like they do called Who Speaks to the Negro, he recalls growing up in a fairly well-to-do home. Andrew lived in an affluent, mostly white neighborhood. That's how he grew up. He did not grow up in the, was it Ninth Ward, I think it is, of New Orleans. And he says he recalls his parents trying to compensate for segregation by providing for their children, but they were reluctant to help the less wealthy black community. Now, I am one of those people. I don't think you should throw people under the bus. And it really bugs me that he would say that he didn't think his family or other more affluent Black people were trying to help the less affluent Black people. Now, my question would be, in what way do you mean help them? Do you mean help them in the sense of teaching them to do for themselves? Maybe, his dad finding somebody who wanted to be a dental hygienist or potentially a dentist and bringing them into his practice, teaching them how to do things and helping them figure out, to do for themselves? Or do you mean they weren't giving them money? Or did he mean that, he didn't see his parents out in the street going fight the power, trying to march and gin up issues? Now, and here's also the question I would ask, because he gave this interview in 1964. He was born in 1932, so he was 32 years old at this point, and he was in the throes of the civil rights movement. Is this really how Andrew saw it as a child? Or is this Andrew during the civil rights movement who has potentially been radicalized? He went to Howard University. He probably was radicalized there. Being radicalized and thinking that you have to fight the power. That's an interesting question. It's like, is he looking back on it and from his experience of the civil rights movement saying my parents didn't do anything, or did his parents not really do anything? And probably in 1964, his parents weren't alive, so they're not even alive to dispute anything he's saying, which I always find in really bad taste. So something else I learned, if Andrew Young's eulogy can be fully trusted, is that, interestingly enough, while Andrew Young grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood, Jimmy Carter may have grown up in a predominantly Black area in Plains, Georgia. And I don't know if that's really true, and I really hate I can't figure out what's going on with my sound, because he states that Plainsville, Georgia is a place that nobody drove through and everybody knew about it because the sheriff was so bad. But then he goes on to allude to the fact that it was mostly Black. And so when Jimmy Carter went to the Naval Academy, he was saying that he requested the first Black midshipman to be his roommate, and he was saying because he knew what being a minority was like, so he could help him through it. So, y'all, the truth is, I don't know what the honest to God's truth is, but because I'm not able to play all the sound, and I'm honestly, I can't figure it out. I probably should have done the test run. I thought the sound would work because I could hear it, but that's not the way it works. I will link that in the description also. So we have Fani getting fined, Trump getting sentenced, Jimmy Carter passing away, and I wanted to go over something else that was just, well, I can still go over it because I can do it with the article, but we have 2025 as a court. I'm going to go with Chisha Zed, who is a YouTuber I listen to. He's in more of the manosphere kind of red pill community, but he is very centrist, and he's very and I don't really like the word centrist. He's very grounded in what he's saying. As with everything else, don't agree about it. I can't play the little clip where he talks about 2025, and the one thing we could say about it is it's the year of disrespect, but it apparently is, because I really wasn't familiar with him, but I kind of knew who he was. Didn't watch the Elvis DeGeneres show all that much, but I kind of seen some things about him as far as being a dancer and stuff. Steven Twitch boss in 2023, allegedly, and it seems to be that he ended his own life, and nobody really knew why, etc., etc. His wife came out and was initially the mournful widow. And you know what? In 2025, she said, bump all of that. It is my time to shine. And I am going to start off 2025 by promoting my new book, which completely disrespects my husband and sullies his legacy. I wanted to play the video, not going to be able to play the video. We're going to go through the People magazine article that she sat down for. And again, once I get everything done, I will put the link in the description so you guys can actually go see and see the video if you'd like to. And I'll also find some of the responses that have come out from that and link those. Again, would have loved to have shown you that as far as video, but I apparently have forgotten how to share audio. So, Stephen Twitch Boss's widow, Allison Holker, discovered his drug addiction in very scary moment before funeral, exclusive. So, I'm sorry, it was 2022 when this happened. So, after Boss's death in 2022, Holker, whose new memoir details her own difficult childhood and healing journey, learned that her husband was struggling with painful demons. Allison Holker made a devastating discovery about her late husband, Stephen Twitch Boss, on one of the hardest days of her life. Weeks after the Ellen DeGeneres Show co-executive producer and longtime DJ died by ending himself at age 40 in December of 2022, the dancer uncovered a cornucopia of drugs, including mushrooms, pills, and other substances I had to look up on my phone, hidden inside his shoebox. I was with one of my really dear friends, and we were cleaning out the closet and picking out an outfit for him for the funeral. Holker 36 recalls in an exclusive interview with People for its latest cover story that hits the newsstands on Friday, which was yesterday. It was a really triggering moment for me because there were lots of things I discovered in our closet that I did not know existed. It was very alarming to me to learn that there was so much happening that I had no clue about, she continues. It was a really scary moment in my life to figure out, but it also helped me process that he was going through so much and he was hiding so much. There must have been a lot of shame in that. She goes on to detail about how, yeah, Shara, I get it. I had heard of him. I've heard a lot more about him after his passing, but I knew kind of tangentially about him. He was apparently on a judge on So You Think You Can Dance, all of these things, and he was Ellen's DJ and apparently her co-executive producer. So she goes through and she's like, throughout their 9-year marriage, Holker, who details her healing journey in her new memoir titled This Far, out February 4th, believed that she and Boss had very honest communication, including about his marijuana use. At night, after the kids went to bed, he would quietly slip into their guest house to smoke or drink. That was his alone time. It was his time to recharge, and that was okay, she said. But as she combed through his journals, hoping to find clarity and closure after his death, Holker learned that her husband had hidden painful secrets from even those closest to him. He was wrestling with a lot inside of him, and he was trying to self-medicate and cope with all those feelings because he didn't want to put it on anyone, because he loved everyone so much, she says, of Boss, who alluded to being abused by a male figure during his childhood in several of his journal entries. He didn't want other people to take on his pain. While she felt betrayed by his secrets, Holker also gained a new outlook over time. And I just want to stop there and say that he didn't choose to disclose this. He wrote this in his journal. I don't know if he disclosed it to her. She's saying he didn't. I don't know if other people knew about this. I honestly don't even know if the journals are real because, he's not here to authenticate them. But if he chose not to reveal this to the public, why would you? You're saying that you found this cornucopia of drugs in your husband's closet. Why are you telling us this? She's saying she's going through a journey of healing because in the People magazine interview, she talks about how, she wants to help people and make saying these things and talking about this stuff kind of normalized because she doesn't want anybody to go through the pain that she went through, and she's hoping this is healing for her and her kids. So slamming your husband, things that literally nobody knew, if again all of these things are true, sharing his deepest, darkest secrets that you said he didn't even share with you when he was living. That's a part of your healing to publicly share. Why? What is the purpose? Why would you tarnish his legacy like that? And y'all, allegedly, she made his family, friends, and everybody else sign the NDA. Like she was married to him. So she sits next to him. So she would get to make all of the decisions, all the rest of that stuff. But allegedly, she made his mother sign an NDA before his mother could see his body. Who does that? According to what she said, it was because she didn't want anybody tarnishing his legacy. You really think his mama was going to throw her son under the bus or say something about her son that would be damaging to him? She's his mom, his brother, his friends. If you thought that was the case, then maybe you shouldn't have had those people in your life. And Shar, I agree with you. That is what they always say, but it really is about getting attention for themselves. And one of the things outside of her revealing his secret that I just found blatantly just disrespectful and horrible. And this is a lot of times this has happened with other people, even with when people have not died under such circumstances, is she now is seeing someone else. And she on the People magazine interview is like, I feel like I found my forever and this feels great. And this is the best, this is the most I've ever loved in life, and I've never felt like this. She was all singing "Love Never Felt So Good" and all of the rest of this stuff. And I'm like, your husband died. He's the father of your children. So not just was he your husband, this was the father of your kids. And you're basically like, I've never had a love like the love I have now, and this feels like my forever. And I understand that Stephen isn't your forever because he's not here anymore in the sense of you guys growing old together. But it was to death do you part. So, again, negating the circumstances, all that stuff. It was to death do you part. So the vows were fulfilled. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, how is it that you do that? Because there's a way to do that. I'm not begrudging her moving on with her life, finding love again. But I think there was a much more respectful way to do that. And she was not respectful. And she was not honoring to him or his legacy or just their kids. Again, I say your kids are going to one day see this. How would you feel with your children seeing this? Hearing this, because I don't know how I would feel if I were in their position and my father had passed and my mom was like, now I found the love of my life and I now have my forever and no love has ever felt this way and this is the best thing that could have ever happened to me in my life. Again, I understand you're still living and you must move on. But there's such a much more respectful way to say that. She even said that this new love allows her to be feminine, which is saying not directly, but indirectly that you felt like you had to man up and be the man with Stephen. How disrespectful is that? Y'all, maybe it's me. Is it me? You can tell me if it's me because I'm a person. I sometimes hear things differently. I sometimes see things differently. And I could be reading this all wrong. And maybe her saying that she now found the love of her life and love never felt so good isn't really disrespectful. And maybe her going through his journals and deciding she's going to publish them in her memoir, which is supposed to be about her childhood and her journey of healing. Maybe that's not disrespectful. It could be me. I could be wrong. Going back to the article, reading Stephen's journals, and even going back to the books that he had read and the things he was highlighting and lining, really gave me a better perspective of where he was in life and the type of things he was struggling with. It did have me feel a lot of empathy towards him and sadness for all the pain he was holding. Okay, pause here. I'm going to ask another question. let's say, because I'm not married, never been married, but I see Spice T, you're in here, chess champ. Not sure if you're still in here, Richard. Not sure if you're still in here, but all of you guys, well, Shar and Spice T, I know you guys are married. Richard, I know you're married. Not sure if you are chess champ. Hey, Susie Q, how are you, love? Not sure. And Susie Q, you're married. Would you, if you found your husband's journals after he passed, for whatever the reason is, maybe it wasn't like Twitch allegedly, and it wasn't him taking his own life, but he died of an illness, or just natural causes, natural course of life, passed away, and you read his journals and they revealed some things that could be shameful to him, or you found some things that could be shameful about him. And let's say you did decide to write a book about your journey of healing. Would you reveal those things? Would you put excerpts of this man's private journal in your book? Because again, I could be reading it wrong. Shar, I see you said earlier when I asked the question that no, social media has brought out the attention for most people. I agree with that. I do. Susie, it's okay that you're late. We found out something. I don't know how to make my videos have sound in them because it's been so long since I've done this. So yay. So we've just been having to listen to me talk for the last hour, and I'm so sad for the people who have. So you coming in late might have been a blessing, ma'am. But I don't understand why you would do that. And interestingly enough, his family has come out and they talked about her making them sign NDAs for. Oh, also, would you make the family sign an NDA to go to the funeral? Susie, Shara, Spice T, would y'all do that? Yeah, I could totally see that Shara. I could see sharing it with his parents, potentially his siblings, but his parents, just to help with the grieving process. But the world not needing to. When I saw this, because I saw the article before I saw people responding to it, and my first response to it was, how dare she? That is so evil and mean and wicked, and what is the point? And then after I saw the article and then people started responding to it, people agreed with me, which helps me to think I'm not crazy. But then, when the mob, I'm part of that. When lots of people agree with you, you tend to think, well, maybe I should look at it a different way. And maybe I am wrong because everybody kind of feels the same way. So I struggle with that. But I don't think I'm like that. This is one of those times I think that the verse love covers a multitude of sins, faults, however the translation of the Bible you have reads. I think this is where that comes in. You protect your husband. You guard him in life and in death. Nobody's saying, that and honestly, reading the article and watching her interview with people, I side-eye did he really end himself? And in the sense of the fact that and also going back to the drug thing, sorry. Y'all, going back to her finding all of these illicit substances, his toxicology report, when they did the autopsy, there were no drugs in his system. There was no alcohol in his system. She said he smoked marijuana. She said that, and I think some of his friends who were coming out saying, yeah, he did smoke marijuana, but even that was not found in his system when the autopsy happened. And for her to say, excuse me, that he was struggling with addiction, and she found all these illicit things in there, and then for his tox screen to be clean, that doesn't really jive. There's a whole lot of other stuff that's around there, and I may, because this just really struck me wrong, may do a separate video talking about all the various things that people have responded to, and all of that. So his family's responded, his mom issued a statement, all those things. I may do that and do one specifically for this one, but I just wanted to talk about how disrespectful this was. And she says that she's this is what she says. We say disrespectful, we say stupid, we say all that stuff. She says she underscores that she's now sharing Boss's struggles in the aftermath of his death in hope of saving even just one person who's been struggling in silence. I call shenanigans because we have we're saying he ended himself. We know that he died by his own hand. That's what the report says. All that stuff. That's what all that says. So let's say he died by his own hand. We're gonna take what we have at face value. He died by his own hand. You don't need to know a person's particular struggles to help somebody else not die by their own hand. Lots of people have spoken. It's like, if you feel like you have these emotions, if you feel like self-harming, there are so many things that talk about, so many PSAs, so many people who talk about, if you feel like self-harming, call this number. And it's not necessarily talking about somebody's specific struggle, meaning detailing what they went through. Because in all honesty, again, he's not here to validate any of the things she's saying. So we don't know if that is what was going through his head at the time that he died by his own hand or not. We don't know what was going on. And rumors abound and lots of things are being said about that. And again, I think I'll deal with this whole situation specifically and kind of what's being said and all the other stuff. On a one thing in particular, and Shara, I completely agree with you. It's to make a play for attention and sound noble. And interestingly enough, it kind of reminds me of the whole Tia situation where you think you're sounding noble, but you don't. You actually sound foolish and like an attention whore and just straight up disrespectful. So we're going to go back. We're going to go on. And after this, I know you guys will not be able to hear the sound, but I'm going to show you a video of another woman being disrespectful. And I'll kind of narrate it as we go along because for whatever reason, I can't figure out how to let you guys hear the sound. So I will do that. But so she underscored that she was sharing it. She can just help one person. It was really hard to put all the pieces together. Through certain discussions, even with friends and things that have been said, reading through his journals, you realize he went through a lot as a child and never faced it, she said. It's hard to think that he never opened up to someone and wanted to face it to get through on the other side. I really hope people dealing with the same thing will help themselves out of the shadows and know you're going to be okay. While Boss, who was acting withdrawn, showering less frequently, and smoking morning and night, acknowledged to her that he was going through a low period, he was very careful about his wording, she recalled. This is a picture of them, but here's the thing. She's now saying that he was withdrawn and acting, and showering less and doing all of these things. Initially, that's not what she said. When he initially passed, she said there were no signs, everything was okay. And now, magically, since she's writing this book, now he was withdrawn and feeling and not taking care of himself. And I don't know, again, haven't been a wife, but I have been a friend. When people I know start behaving differently, or there seems to be something not right, I ask them what's wrong. I'm thinking as a wife, you're with him day in, day out. You know what he's doing. And he just tells you, I'm going through a low period. And you just brush it off. This dude isn't showering. So if he's not sleeping in the bed with you, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm not trying to be rude or anything else. But I would think husband and wife, you share a bed. And this man is showering less. He's all of these things. there was nothing you did. There's no, I don't understand how you could initially say, and who knows, maybe she'll say she initially said that he was all right and there were no signs because she was trying to protect his legacy and who he was. Then why throw him under the bus now? Make it make sense. It doesn't make sense to me. And Shar, you're right. He wasn't okay. Oops, he wasn't okay, and he didn't make it through. And I don't understand. And you seem to agree with me about saying, hey, you're there with him all the time. So how is it you're not prodding this person, just saying what's going on, and you're there with him, unless you don't really care about the person. Again, I've never been married. I've dated people. I've been in relationships. And there's never been a time where somebody was acting not themselves, or at least what I knew for normal for them was not just like, okay, you're careful with your wording. You're not going to work. You're not taking a shower. You're where you used to smoke at night. You're now smoking day and night. You're chain smoking. You're careful with your wording. You're not really saying, so it must be okay. I've never done that. I personally, I could be a different breed. Looks like Shara might be a different breed. Looks like Susie might be a different breed because she's saying, yep, if you care, notice changes. So what she's saying, she goes on, people are saying he was closing out 8 years at the Ellen DeGeneres show and ending a run on a judge on So You Think You Can Dance. She's like, still, we were getting ready for this big year. It seemed like, oh, he's taking a resting period, which he would say he's never had. Okay. Taking a resting period is he's closing out a show with 2 shows, ending a run on that. That is him saying, you know what? Yeah, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to dance. I'm not going to do whatever for a while. I'm going to take not showering for days on end and smoking day and night is not a resting period. That's just weird. Maybe she's like, hey, he's never not gotten up and gone to work, so he's not showering for 3 days because he never could not shower for 3 days. I don't understand it. Maybe somebody else did. Let's see. We got saying here. Susie. My husband goes through hard stuff regularly. If he comes home and says he had a hard call, we talk about it. It's a wife is to be there for her, a helper for her husband, and share his burdens, all his burdens. That's the way I see it. That's what I would think. But apparently she didn't. And she's saying she didn't see the signs, but then she did see the signs. She says, in hindsight, Holker believes he was deeply struggling with the chasm between being extroverted Twitch, his beloved public persona, and the introverted Stephen, a man who yearned to be the perfect husband and dad to their 3 kids, Wesley 16, Maddox 8, Zaya 5. Okay, again, I'm going to ask a question. So she's saying Twitch was his extroverted public persona. Stephen was introverted. So you knew this about him. And I would assume that, again, she said he would go out and he would smoke and he would drink, and that was kind of his alone time, blah, blah, blah. Hey, I don't think those are necessarily the ways to do it. But this is what she said he did. We're going to take it for face value. We're going to go with it. And we're going to say, why weren't you his safe place? And again, asking as a person who has never been a wife, why weren't you his safe place? Why is it that you? Because again, I'm basing this on her saying he yearned to be the perfect husband and wife, a husband and father to the 3 kids. So were you not helping him to see that, hey, 1, nobody's perfect, and 2, I'm not. Everybody is responsible for themselves, and I get it. You don't necessarily share everything, whatever. I'm just not seeing at this point, and I will tell y'all, I probably will read her book listen to her book on Audible, something, because I'm that person. I'm curious about how people frame things, and I like to try to get more context if I can. So if I do that, I will bring that to y'all too, because I'm really, hopefully, again, like I said, work will slow down a little bit and be a little more manageable, and I can do these things because there's so much I've wanted to talk about, and I still have so many other things I want to talk about that haven't. But let's see what that Susie, you're saying he wasn't able to talk to her, so she was probably another burden. Probably. Again, allegedly, there have been lots and lots of talk. I think I'm going to do another one specifically about that. Let's see. Most people don't have a biblical understanding of marriage. It's all about what you can get from it. True, I agree, but I think that Kiana is here for the ratchetness. I am, Shara. That is a flaw. The Lord is helping me. I am not truly sanctified, and I will not be fully, completely sanctified until I see him in glory. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm going to, Susie, just because I want to add more context. I don't want to be mean to her and callous toward her. And in any way, I'm just not seeing from what I've read, what I've seen, even in how people have responded. I'm not seeing how she was a true helpmeet to her husband. And that makes me sad. And Shara, I agree. Most people don't understand the biblical definition of marriage. I think a lot of it, though, is that feminism is so entrenched in our society, because I have seen people who don't know the Bible from Tom Sawyer's Adventures be helpers to their husband. They're not believers. They're helpers to their husbands, because I think that the Lord he's told us that the law is written on our hearts. So innately we know we're supposed to do the things. And we buck against the system because even the whole little fruit thing, and so we know that it gets turned upside down. But I think innately we know these things, and we just try to buck against them. Because I've seen unbelievers who are amazing wives to their husbands, and they're helpmeets. And I've seen those marriages work because the two people are intertwined, and by intertwined I mean they have become one flesh without knowing, because I don't think they will put those words to it. But they've become one flesh because I think it is a natural thing. It is innate within us because God's imprinted it on us. It's innate within us to do it. And I will say this again, as a person who's never been married, and I'm sure that some of the guys I've dated would tell you it's probably a wonderful thing they didn't marry me, because the Lord has grown me over the years in so many ways. And I look at my younger self and think about some of the crazy things I did. I could tell y'all stories, but I won't. That as a person who's never been married, that watching all this the dynamics play out, and I don't know how I would have been in my younger years, but as a person who has continued to grow and mature and to be sanctified, most definitely by Christ. Sometimes I'm sure with my love for actions, y'all can't tell, but I think about how I behave, and I look at this and I'm like, oh, it breaks my heart. One, not gonna lie, because I'm like, so all of these people are getting husbands and multiple loves, because now she's in the greatest love of her life. I can't get one husband, just one. I can't get one. But these people who seemingly use and abuse, and I will say this, even though I was crazy in my younger years, because I was steeped in feminism, did not really know it, and the Lord was working on me even through that, as he was rooting some of those things out, even through my craziness. That I don't think, even though they may say, yeah, it's probably a good thing I didn't marry Kiana, because I know I would say that about a good number of them also. I don't think there's anybody that I've dated who could say that I did not endeavor to help them and to make their lives better. How it looks sometimes, but I don't think that they could honestly say that I did not. That was not my endeavor. Probably went about it the wrong way in some instances, and part of that's maturity, and also not having someone to truly teach me how to do that the correct way. But it was never my like, oh, look at you, you're just doing this bad thing, and I'm not going to say anything. Again, we could argue methods, but she said he never had rest. in hindsight, struggling with that, he wanted to be the popular. She's like, when I would think about my husband at the time, I would think, oh, I love that Twitch is such a great performer. But when he comes home, he feels safe to be Steven. She says, I was with him for so long, and that's how he's been the entire relationship. I was like, it's all beautiful that he can be both. Looking back, Holker realizes his two very different personalities were increasingly battling each other. What if he felt safe being this one individual that has different kinds of energy? She now wonders. You don't have to be completely different persons to put them aside from each other. I probably read that wrong because I don't understand what she's saying. The morning before he went missing, Boss dropped off Wesley at school. She was the last person in their family to see him alive, and his final words to her was, I wish I could be your Superman. Having someone say last words to you that you didn't really process at the time as being anything wrong, that's really hard, especially as a teenager, says Holker, noting that Wesley still attends the same school. She handles it with far more grace than she should have to. We took the steps to really help her and communicate with her and make her feel seen and heard. I so hate therapy, though, because these are all therapy words, and I hate them. The whole little make you feel seen, make you feel heard. And part of that is just because I personally think that it just wraps up so much in you. Not saying that, I mean, that has to be hard. He was not her biological father. Wesley was not his biological child. She was a child that Allison brought into the marriage, but Twitch took her on and raised her. And she was in his eyes, and I'm assuming in Allison's eyes too. I don't know the background story. That may be in the book. We'll find out about that too. It's like I think she sees also those words as something beautiful and also ugly. It's a battle that she's going to always have with herself. But I know she can see it from both sides. Feeling the full range of emotions and knowing that's okay is what Holker hopes others take away from her new book. Look at that. Allison Holker, my story of love, loss, and embracing the light. This far is right. I've been so fortunate to have resources that have helped me and that I've teamed up with, she says, of working with organizations like the National Alliance of Mental Health and Maple Counseling. And it just ends with being a vessel and what she wants to be, blah, 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 blah. That's the way I see that because I'm going, all of this just sounds so insincere to me. And Susie, I'm so happy that you have the eye rolling emoji, so it's not just me. It is one of the reasons I love you, and maybe both of us. And Shar, I'm pretty sure you would have the same emotions. It's one of the reasons I love y'all. And sometimes I'm like, maybe I should ask somebody else because we tend to kind of think alike. I trust you guys, but I trust your feelings about it. Y'all, that was kind of heavy, and I'm sorry. So, okay, it is all me. Okay, so I'm not seeing it any differently than you guys, which makes me feel good. Now, if y'all ever tell me, no, Keanu, you're looking at this totally wrong, it's gonna make me feel strange. Okay, so that was heavy, and I'm sorry. This is a fun thing for me. It's in one sense Ratchet TV. I'm gonna find what I really, really, really should have just done it all on one screen because it's not. I can't find my things. I'm gonna figure it all out. I promise. Next time we do this, y'all will have audio too. But where is it? Let me start closing out some of these so I can find what I'm looking for. This is not all that I wanted to talk about, but I am not going to hold you guys and end with this. So this is, I'm actually sharing it from Rivah TV. You guys, again, probably won't be able to hear it, but I'm going to navigate what's happening for you. So I'm going to set it up. Talking about disrespect, talking about all the other stuff. So there's a lady who was driving in a car, allegedly with her boyfriend or husband. And you know how sometimes you get a little too close to somebody, and apparently the woman slammed on brakes, but she didn't just end it with that. She decided she was going to full on stop, get out of the car, and address this lady. She goes up to the lady's car. She starts talking noise to her. The passenger door opens. Her boyfriend or husband, the lady who is getting yelled at, her boyfriend or husband steps out of the car and is like, hey, you need to stop. There's no need to do this. Basically, get back in the car. Lady talks to her, and I will link that too. So you guys can hear it. I'll link the video so you guys can actually go watch it. It was hilariously funny to me. Probably shouldn't have been, but I got the kind of sense of humor. Anyway, so he's like, basically get back in the car. Don't do this. And she's all like, you're not going to do nothing because my man is in the car. You ain't trying to start nothing with me. The gentleman who was in the second car of the woman who was getting yelled at goes in, goes. Thanks, Richard. Thank you for stopping by. It's my first show back. I appreciate you guys stopping by because it is it is definitely struggle stream day. Have a good day. Hope the kiddos and Jenny are doing well. So he's turning to get back into the car. So he literally is turning away from her. She reaches around, slaps him. And what ensues next is hilarity. So without further ado, and I'm going to share the screen, make myself small. I have to do the share window. Make myself small. I'm going to blow up the picture. I'm going to play it again. You guys can't hear it. Okay, so I'm going to go to the part where this actually starts because she was. So shout out to Rivah. She's talking about how there's road rage and they're coming up. She's setting it up. I'm going to move. Let's see. Hold on. Oh, there we go. Here, this is where the first woman stopped. And of course, the other lady has to stop because she's behind us. She's like, get out the car. So he's like, don't touch her. Go ahead, get away. Don't do this. And she's like, you're not going to touch me. My man's right there. You ain't doing nothing. Now, there is language in there. So when y'all hear it, just know this is what was said. Okay, so what they're blurring out is she slapped him. He put her down on the ground. They got in the car, backed out. Because they had to find another way to go the way they were going because she stopped in the middle of the street to get out to confront the lady. So this lady is now lying on the street, and what you guys can't hear, because she said, and she just lays there. All right. So I'm gonna stop sharing. I'm gonna come back. So what happened is that she is lying on the street. Like I said, she said she was not going to, that the man wasn't going to touch her. As he's telling her, hey, you don't need to touch my girl. I don't know if it's his wife or not. You don't need to touch my girl. You basically need to get back in the car. All the rest of the stuff. She's like, you ain't going to touch me because my man's in the car. Montez ain't going to let nothing happen to me. He's turning away. And I hate that they blurted out, but I understand why, because YouTube and violence, blah, blah, blah. So he's turning away to go back to his seat in the car so that they can go. She slaps him. He puts her down 1, 2, 3. What you last saw was her laying in the street yelling, Montez. Oh my gosh, y'all, hold up. I got to share this with you because I missed it. Because we were all like, was there somebody actually in the car? Because she's literally laying on the street yelling Montez, and Montez is not coming. But y'all, let me see if I can blow this up because there is somebody in the car. Let me go out of here. Do this. Okay, so it's not gonna go too far. I'm gonna have to screenshot this and pull it. There is a guy sitting in the car. Montez actually, and you can't see it because of the queue either. Oh my gosh. There is a guy sitting in the car. I never paid that any attention because I'm like, nobody's in that car. Y'all, he's sitting in the car. He's probably scrolling on Instagram, scrolling on Facebook. telling people happy birthday. He was in the car. She's out there going, Montez, Montez. She is literally screaming his name. He is not moving. He is sitting in the car. I see the man with the hat in the car now. He never moved. He never moved. So, y'all, we have gone through a lot of things. Wrapped up a little of 2024. Yes. And that was what was some of the comments, Susie, when somebody's like, he's glad somebody finally shut her up for a second. And right, you can't hit a stranger and expect them not to defend themselves. And that was one of the interesting things, because Rivah is a channel that I follow, and I usually enjoy her commentary. I don't always agree with her and the way she at least frames things. But I usually enjoy her commentary. But on this one, when she started out the video, she was saying, I don't agree with a man putting his hands on a woman, blah, blah, blah. So I commented on it. I was like, he didn't put his hands on her. He defended himself. And anybody can get that work. She could have had a knife in her hand. And when she came across to slap him, she could have. I know people who used to carry razor blades and blades. You didn't know they had them, but they could cut you in a heartbeat. So he didn't know what she was gonna do, and he didn't punch her in the sense, like, he didn't punch her. He didn't continually beat her. He put her on the ground, got back in the car, like was his intention, when he turned around and she slapped him, and then went on about his business. That was hilariously funny to me. I got a chuckle from it. It reminded me of the kid who was talking about how little Johnny gave him a black eye, but now he's not gonna get a treasure box, and how that's not how that works. He was like, he gonna pop little Johnny, and now both of them gonna have black eyes, and how now they both won't have treasure boxes on Friday, but that's okay, because maybe little Johnny will learn not to keep his hands to himself. I hope this one will learn to keep her hands to herself. Y'all, thank you for sticking with me. Yep. Oh my gosh, Sharjo. Yeah, that was one of the comments on the in the comment section of Rivah's video, was equal rights, equal lefts. So somebody did say that. Yeah, it's like, welcome to equality. That's what happened. You can get put down equally. I hope y'all enjoy this. I'm so sorry that my audio on your end did not work. I will have to figure out what happened with that before I do another live stream or another video where I'm playing a video and not just talking to you guys myself. I'm so sorry that you had to listen to me talk for this hour and 48 minutes, but at least you know I can do it. As always, thank you guys for being here. Thank you for listening to me. I appreciate it. I'm just a girl giving my opinion from my little corner of the world. I can promise I'm not always going to be right, but my want is to be God honoring and for us to have some fun and do a little laughing in the midst of some tears, because we do talk about some things that are a bit heavy. Again, thank you so much, guys, for being here. I appreciate you all. For those of you who may be on the replay gang, drop a comment. I'm trying to improve. It's been about 5 months since I've done this, but I am good with any comment, good, bad, or indifferent. Please hit the like button, share, subscribe. I am trying to get a regular cadence this year, as work seems to be a little bit more in control, and I understand my region a little bit better. So until next time, God bless you guys. Have a wonderful day. Shar, I see you saying we need a farm edition. That will come, my darling dear, because I got farm stories to tell. In case you guys don't know, who are watching it later or who are in here and who don't know, I bought a mini farms. That was one of the things that happened in 2024 also. So yeah, got some stories about some animals that were and aren't anymore, and some of the animals that are still there. And we'll do a donkey edition. That'd be fun. Jack will probably gladly be on the whole edition. I'll try and do that sometime. when it gets warmer, because right now it's cold. We had snow yesterday. It's still on the ground. I was supposed to be signing off. I'm going to do that now. Shar Joel. I call you Joel. I don't know if it's actually Joel, but I like saying Joel anyway. I know it's Shara. Shara, CZQ. Love you ladies so much. Thank you for supporting me. For everybody else who came through too, Richard, Chess Champ, Spicy, and Spicy actually is my sister in case you didn't know. Thank you guys for dropping by. To those of you who watch again on the replay, thank you so much for listening to my voice. And God bless you. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. And let's see what 2025 brings us. Till next time, y'all. Bye-bye.